got the cornfield calm, Midwest tone, but he's spitting facts like a dog with a bone. Lanky frame, fire-haired, eyes on the case, breaking down the game in the darkest place. Sports scores to murder boards, Hoosier logic cuts like swords. From Friday lights to chalked out lines, this redhead's brain rewrites the lines inside the Hoosier mind, where the stories twist and stats unwind. He's a legend in flannel, mic in hand, digging deep where few can stand. From touchdowns to crime scenes raw, he's got the truth in every draw. Yeah, step in if you dare to find what's brewing inside the Hoosier mind. He'll talk Pacers, Colts, or Colts on trial. Hoosier humor with a devilish smile. He's that redhead sleuth with a box of clues. Takes your headline, breaks the news. With every stat and every scream, he's painting portraits in your stream. Don't blink, he'll tie it tight. From game night wins to murder fight. Inside the Hoosier mind, where the facts hit hard and the lines are blind. He's a ginger ninja, smooth and slick, cracking cases play by play quick. From courtrooms to the hardwood floor, he digs for more than just the score. Tune in and don't rewind, you're deep now inside the Hoosier mind.
All right, welcome in everyone to Inside the Hoosier Mind, brought to you by Military Broadcast Radio, helping give veterans a voice, and my newest sponsor, Gunfighter Beer Company, who produces great beard care products. They create also products for the missus. So if you want to get your nice body serum, if you want to get her a little wax melt, anything like that, make her smell just as good and pretty as you, check them out at gunfighterbeerco.com. And if you want a great beard, also check them out because they got great stuff, copycat scents of colognes and whatnot, all the good stuff. So definitely check them out. Also, he is a small business owner in South Carolina and a Marine Corps veteran to boot with that. And Mike is here with us, which is super happy because we love having Mike on the show. But it kind of sucks today, Mike, because football season's officially over until like 6 months from now.
Yeah,
and it kind of sucks.
Definitely a rough day, but it's the part where we're trying to get Tone into the baseball world because pitchers and catchers report this week. It's really exciting. Baseball is in full effect. Second the clock hits 0, I'm in Cubby mode, ready to get those bleacher bums rocking again. So it's going to be pretty cool, man. We need Tone as maybe college baseball. We'll start him off slow. Not a lot in Indiana. You're just going to be a Cubs fan for the most part.
And I'm good with that. I say most baseball here, yeah, it's Cubs, Cardinal, or not. Well, some few Cardinal fans. More like that's more like back in when I was in high school when the Cardinals were like really good. Then there's like St. Louis Cardinals fans everywhere. But the Reds and the Cubbies are kind of the two big areas like fighting here in Indy as far as like baseball territory goes.
Shout out Pops and Gonzo, man. Shout out Pops and Gonzo.
Exactly. But I've always kind of rooted for the Cubbies. Like when they won the 2016 World Series, I was like, I'm happy the Cubs won. Just because I heard about the story of like the dude with the goat was banned. So it was like, okay.
Yeah.
It's like somebody just needed to bring a goat back to Wrigley Field. It'd probably been fine. Like the curse would probably been lifted.
And they did, and it was Chris Bryant, man. And hey, shout out Chris Bryant, by the way, man. I mean, I know it's not related to what we're talking about today, but if you don't know, Chris Bryant, Rookie of the Year for the Chicago Cubs, 2015, 2016, breaks a 108-year curse, and then wins MVP. And it's just one of those things that's so sad. It's like we're hearing now that like he can't even do day-to-day activities because of this back issue that he has going around right now. I think it's like something about like degenerative disease, some kind of degenerative disease. And it's just like, it's so unfortunate, bro, to see like a player that you grew up idolizing and a guy that like still has a mural on 1060 West Addison of him. And, you know, it's still one of my favorite players growing up watching for the small sample size, really, that he was in Chicago. Cause it was like what, 2015 to 2021. And it's just like, it's just something where like, it's crazy that like you could be the best in the world at your sport. And then just a few years later, man, you're just taking off the map.
And think about it too. Like Can you imagine how frustrated he is, like you said, to go from like top of the world, like peak it, like you are a world class athlete, like you play a major professional sport, like you
Yeah.
literally get paid to basically work out and play this game. And then something like that, something as small as that can bring you down, unfortunately. So it is one of those. It's sad. It's kind of humbling at the same time too.
No, yeah. Like
Um,
Chris Bryant is a fucking legend and like it forever cemented as that. But you
mhm,
know, deep down, like when you're an athlete, you're an athlete. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like, yeah, I won a World Series, I won MVP, I won Rookie of the Year, but the guys in my draft class are still playing and performing at a high level or a relatively high level. And it's like for him to not be able to play on this roster right now, especially after getting paid as much as he did for Colorado. I know a lot of fans, like obviously they're not Cubs fans, Tone. You know what I mean? So
mhm,
like he owes them nothing, they owe him nothing. It's like
yeah,
it's and for him to not really have played in his tenure so far with them because of injuries, he's already starting the season missing the first couple months with this back issue, and it's really frustrating because that kind of gets to you at some point when all you have is silence. It gets really loud. So I'm praying for Chris, man. I really hope this really turns around for him at some point and we can kind of get like a comeback player of the year kind of story.
mhm.
But let me not take up too much time talking about baseball. This is what
No,
you
no.
did, by the way. All you had to say was football's over, and I went on a 3-minute tangent about the Chicago Cubs. Like I need to be stopped. You shouldn't have said
Hey,
it.
hey, that's okay. Hey, it's funny enough because I saw a post from Jonathan Mathis earlier. They shared it of like baseball, now, your time is now. And he's like, it's
Yeah.
kind of a slap in the face to basketball and hockey. And I'm like, well,
Well, do
it,
something about it. You
it
know what I mean?
it's
Like,
it's one of those realistically, if basketball, like truly to me, and you can tell me if I'm wrong because you're more of an NBA fan than I am, because I'm
sure.
I'm not going to sit here and be a bandwagon fan because I've watched the Pacers for a long time be bad, so I'm not going to hop on the band.
And they're bad again.
Like realistically, do you think basketball should almost be like the spring and summertime sport? Because
Mhm.
one inside anyway, you're then not competing with college football, you're not competing with the NFL. You're like you essentially the only other major sport you would be competing with is baseball. Like right now, where you're at, you have to compete with the NFL, you have to compete with college football, you have to compete then with March Madness, who a lot of people probably follow college more than they do professional. Like myself, I like college basketball more than I do NBA basketball anyway.
Yeah.
Like if you started from like literally the second that March Madness ends and then go through the summer all the way up till August, that's 5 months, man.
Yeah.
5 months.
Well, that's exactly like working in the WNBA for the 4 or 5 years that I did. Like that's why they thrived. And that's why like obviously like we can get into a whole thing about the numbers and the attendance and everything for the last 20 plus years, but where they are today is why the WNBA is going to thrive because there isn't any basketball, there isn't any football being played in the summers outside of the WNBA and EuroLeague. So like and obviously like you have the G League Ignite and like a bunch of other teams as well, the G League organization, summer why am I blanking on summer ball. You know, they've been playing summer
Mhm.
basketball. Summer league.
Yeah, summer league.
It's literally obvious. I don't know why I can say. But yeah, that's why the WNBA thrives. You get the Caitlin Clarks, you get the Angel Reeses, you get the Paige Beckers and all these amazing, incredible women that are really just making a staple from a social media side of really just like bringing awareness to the game.
Mhm.
And like you said, man, like there is no okay, it's Sunday, man. We got to watch the Bears. You know what I mean? Oh, it's Thursday night
Mhm.
football. It's this, is this. It's like in the summer, if the NBA were to do it, the WNBA would be pissed.
Oh, yeah.
But with that being said, for the NBA, it's like, oh, Thursday night, let's do it. Like, we'll have a prime time game. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Or like Friday nights, it'll be this or that. And I think it definitely also, I mean, for me, I think it just changes the impacts of the players. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's when you're rolling into Cleveland or Chicago in January, it's rough, brother. It was
Mhm.
it was a frozen tundra here 3 weeks ago. And granted, we all still pulled up to Derrick Rose night, but like
Mhm.
it took me an hour to get out of the parking lot because of all the snow and all the traffic.
Right.
That's so serious. Like it took an hour. And it
Yeah.
was just like one of the and I parked in the front. But
Right.
it's definitely something that I think would benefit the league. Players, I think, would be pissed though. I think the
Think
players
so.
would be pissed because you always see them on their summer tours and what they're
Yeah.
up to.
Yeah. And I don't know. I think there could be something kind of done. And I would even say too I would almost argue for the players. Like depending on where you're at,
Yeah.
you can't act like, August through realistically, even in sometimes of the year, depending August through like October, still ain't like summertime weather. Like it could still be 80, 90 degrees somewhere, depending on where you're at, and still hot and sunny, and you can still go out and ball and whatnot. And honestly, you might even have a better time because then you ain't got to compete with all the school kid crowd, you ain't got to compete with all the parents, and whatnot. Like
Yeah.
that'd be kind of time. But nonetheless, though, we'll believe it or not, we started the first 11 minutes. We haven't even really talked about football. But we will knock out real quick. The Super Bowl is finally over. We watched. I'm going to be honest, buddy, and this might sound really mean. It's probably like one of the worst Super Bowls I've watched just because of it was like 9-0. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, is a defensive fight. Like, all
Yeah.
right, it's not great, it's not awful, it's not
No.
necessarily what I want to see for the Super Bowl. Like I want like a little bit of spice thrown in there, and it's like
For
12-0, and it's like 19-0, and then 19-7. I'm like, ooh, okay. If they score one more, like another touchdown, they're still in the game. And then it
Yeah.
was like, yeah, no, you're done. I'm like, all right, well, we
Well, yeah.
we
Pack
got
it up.
nothing from there.
Yeah. Pack
But
it.
but buddy, what's your like give me your thoughts though, because we got to see when you were talking about Bryant earlier for the Cubs, we've probably got to see one of the coolest comeback stories for a quarterback we could see in Sam Darnold. Like you think about it, poor kid was drafted to the Jets. That's already a career-ending move just within its own because it's the
Yeah.
Jets. Drafted by the Jets, goes through all that disorganization, all that dysfunction, gets a new start in Carolina, but another quarterback also gets a new start in Carolina with Baker. They both struggle. Panthers get rid of both of them.
Yeah.
Baker goes to LA, kind of has a little bit of a career revival. Funny
Mhm.
enough, Sam Darnold goes to San Francisco as a backup. He has a little bit of a career revival just
Yeah.
because he finally gets around some stability. Baker then goes to Tampa, has had quite a bit of success. Sam Darnold goes to Minnesota, leads them to 14-3, and then we're like, okay, maybe he's pulling the Sam Darnold because when it comes to the playoffs, he's seeing ghosts again.
Yeah.
And then turns around, does the exact same thing with Seattle, but is able to finish the job. And funny enough, finish the job against the team that made him see ghosts in the Patriots and beat them in the Super Bowl to hand them a franchise record 6th Super Bowl loss for
Well,
their franchise history.
50%. That's 500, bro.
Fitty
That's
fitty.
500.
This, but can you imagine though sitting there saying like, yeah, I've been to 12 Super Bowls, but I've only won 6. Like that, like you can still flex because there's only one other team can say they've won 6
That's literally
Super Bowls.
LeBron, bro. That's literally LeBron James to a T. Been the 10
True.
finals, he's won 4. You know what I mean? Like, no
True,
disrespect, but like
4-6,
still the GOAT in so many people's eyes, you know?
Right. But what's your thoughts on all of it, buddy?
My first thought is immediately Mitch Trubisky and the 2018 Bears. And like I immediately was like, okay, if they can win with Sam, the Bears could have won with Trubisky. Like, and I know there were so many other factors. You still would have had to see the Rams. You still maybe would have even had to see Brady. But the reality of the situation to me is the Bears were a field goal away from being Super Bowl champs, and they were only in the wild card game. And I still feel that way to this day. Like watching that Seattle defense move and carve up the Patriots offensive line and Will Campbell, LSU Tiger, the way they did was incredible. And to just see them not only do it without really taking the ball away, early on in the game, they were really just, man, you're not getting a first down. And that's really what it was. And I was like, man, it's like you're watching, honestly, not recently, but it's like watching a Bears game over the last several years. You know what I mean? Like the Bears, 3 and out. Granted, like the Ben Johnson era, chef's kiss. But like outside of that, like it reminded me so much of like the Justin Field days where it's like we're just fighting for a first down, brother. And yeah, man, to really tie it in though to like what the actual part of the game, like, it's unfortunate, man. But I will say this. I don't want to hear another motherfucker tell me that Drake May is better than Caleb Williams. If you're redrafting today, you are still taking Caleb Williams 10 times out of 10 every day that ends with Y. Caleb Williams in this game, would the Bears still have lost? Probably because that defense is incredible in Seattle. But the closer it got to the fourth quarter, the shittier Drake May got. And that's when Caleb's time to shine always comes through. And I know he would have put up a fight, and I know they would have cooked something up. It's my personal opinion, Tony. I don't know how you feel about it, but I watched that entire game and I thought to myself, Caleb Williams is better than both of these quarterbacks. And that's something as a Bears fan that I have never in my life been able to say about two teams, two quarterbacks that are in the Super Bowl at the highest level on the brightest stage. The Bears would have had the best player on the field. And it was just like a cool feeling.
To me, it was one of those, it was disappointing because, again, when you think of the Super Bowl, you think, okay, these are two of the best teams all season. Yeah. And one of the things that got brought up, and then when I really looked at it, I'm like, it does kind of make sense. Like, you got to remember, the Patriots went 4-13 last year. So they had a last place schedule coming into this season. So theoretically, you had, based off of last year's record, the easiest schedule to be able to compete in, and you should have had success against some of these teams. And on the other side, I don't really want to take away from the Seahawks because that defense is solid. It's so good. Now their offense, it's funny enough because when you have a guy like JSN, when you have a guy like Kenneth Walker, when you have, even though that Cooper Kupp isn't really the Cooper Kupp of old we've seen, is still productive. Yeah. You just have to have a Sam Darnold who does not turn the ball over, which is really what helped him pretty much throughout most of the postseason, is the fact that he game managed correctly. But just real quick, to tell you the opponents that the Patriots faced this year, and you tell me kind of how much of a cakewalk they had all the way to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So they started out, they hosted the Raiders, they lost by 7. Then they go to Miami, they win. They host the Steelers, they lose by 7. They host the Panthers, stomp them. They go to Buffalo, they beat them, kind of a surprise game, but that's a divisional game. We all know divisional games, throw the records out the door. Doesn't really matter as much. Then they go to the Saints, then they go to the Titans, then they host the Browns, they host the Falcons, they go to the Bucks, which that one kind of a quality win. I'm not going to, knock anything against the Bucks. Yeah. They host the Jets. They go to the Bengals without Joe Burrow. They host the Giants. Not exactly like that's going to be difficult. They host the Bills. They take an L. They go to the Ravens. They get a win. Now, kind of impressive, but albeit Baltimore was in a downward spiral this year. It was not great for them. They go to the Jets. They host the Dolphins, both messes. And then we get to the playoffs. They host the Chargers, which, I don't know what Justin Herbert issue is. I don't know what, the Chargers issue as a whole is when it comes to their postseason here of lately, but that's a struggle. Yep. Now they host Houston, and realistically, when you watch that game, if CJ Stroud could do anything but throw to the guys in the navy blue jerseys, the Texans probably win that game. But CJ Stroud just could not throw to the Patriots. And then they go to the AFC Championship, and you get handed the most cakewalk thing because Bo Nix gets injured. And so Jarrett Stidham has to be the guy to lead the Broncos. They only end up winning by 3. And then you go to the Super Bowl with Seattle. Yep. So really out of that, when I look at that schedule, I'm like, okay, so realistically to me, based off of this season, you got 2 quality wins. Because you beat the Buccaneers, who were fairly decent in contention for the division. You beat the Steelers, who ultimately ended up winning, or no, you lost to the Steelers, sorry. And you beat the Bills, who was also in contention and ended up making it pretty far against the Broncos. I mean, some people might argue, well, it's a quality win against the Ravens.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, you could probably make that argument because they were also in contention for their division towards the end there. But they were on a downward spiral, and it's one of those, once you're like, what were they, like 0-5 at one point?
Once it's done,
it's hard to climb out of. Like, you have no room for error.
Lamar barely came back. And also, something I wanted to point out to Dave Kaplan in Chicago radio said earlier today, that when you look at the most touchdowns thrown by each quarterback against teams with a winning record, we're talking about true contenders. We're talking about guys in the playoffs. Against those teams, you look at the top 3. I don't remember who number 2 was. Matthew Stafford was number 1 for the most touchdowns against teams with a winning record. Caleb Williams was number 3. Do you want to guess where Drake May was?
I'm going to say bottom 5.
40th.
40th? Ooh.
40th.
Ooh.
And in a league with 32 fucking teams, I don't know how the runner-up MVP was 40th in touchdowns thrown against teams with a winning record. That to me tells me everything I need to know. And it's not that Drake May's not good. I think Drake May's a baller.
Yes.
But the crown for the Brady 2.0, we got our guy. You even heard Robert Kraft saying we got our guy. He reminds me so much of Tommy, the way he walks around and talks to the guy. I don't care how he talks to the guys in the locker room. That's important, but I care about Drake May balling. May he be the new Tom Brady? Maybe one day. It's possible, but we're not going to sit up here and crown him like he's been anything special. You know what I mean? Like a phenomenal season, but like you said, you can only play who's on your schedule. I'm not going to take that away from you, but I also take into consideration that half of those teams are dog shit. And the same thing with the Chicago Bears. Chicago Bears, hey man, don't matter till you beat the Packers. All right, we did that. Don't matter till you beat the Eagles. All right, we did that. Don't matter till you beat this team, that team. And they climbed and they soared every single time, every single opportunity except the Lions had our number.
Yeah.
But that's my main thing is like, will it happen again next year? Yeah, I don't know. There was a lot of luck that was on our side. Like, you don't know.
And for the Patriots too, when you look at their schedule next season,
it's rough.
It's rough because you got to think they've faced the Buffalo Bills twice, the Miami Dolphins twice, and the Jets twice.
Yeah,
you're probably looking at minimum at least 2 wins out of the Jets. Maybe split with Buffalo, and you maybe split with Miami. That's like 4-2 right there.
That's if Miami also like doesn't figure it out. And with a guy, was it Joe Kelly? Joe Kelly's the guy in Buffalo right now. Kelly. Joe Brady. Joe Brady. Sorry, who the fuck is Joe Kelly?
OC for Joe Burrow and the 2019 national champion LSU Tigers.
Sorry, guys. But you know, it's go Tigers. But
go Tigers.
It's definitely one of those things for me where like, dude, like if Brady figures it out and Josh Allen can get back to like MVP Allen, like you know what I mean? Like you might, and let's say Miami figures it out, like you're looking at least 3-3 in the division.
Yeah. And then that's just your division. So the other games that they have to go to the Bears. They have to go to the Lions. They have to go to the Chiefs. They have to go to the Chargers. They host the Broncos. They host the Raiders. They host the Packers, and they host the Vikings. Then they have to go to Jacksonville. They host the Steelers. Oh, and look at that. We get a Super Bowl rematch. They have to go to Seattle next year. So it's like, I don't know if New England's going to be able to have another magical run like that, at least going into next year, just by how it sits. Now, this is by no means the order in which they're going to face these teams, but nonetheless, though, like that is not a fun schedule that you have to put to deal with, especially based on this past season's rankings and what we think these teams are going to look like going into the future. Nonetheless,
yeah, for sure.
So
before we leave the Super Bowl, can I tell you something?
Yes.
I'm going to do it. Velus Jones is a fucking loser. And that's all I got to say. Velus Jones saying that Bears fans are salty and talking all this shit about Bears fans, which, by the way, he kind of made a point that like Bears fans like were upset that he was even in the Super Bowl. Brother, in my opinion, from everybody I know in Chicago, nobody was talking about it because nobody knew he was in Seattle because he had a whopping 32 yards in the 2025 season. Like, sure, congratulations. You're a Super Bowl champ, but you're still a fucking bum. I don't care. That's all I had to say about before we leave the Super Bowl conversations. Fucking bum.
Yeah. And for anybody who was really wondering, if you just look up Velus Jones highlights, because funny enough, I saw this on TikTok, or maybe it was Instagram, one of the two. Somebody shared it. It was like Velus Jones highlights. There were so many just wide open catches he had. It just dropped. Like the closest person's like 5 yards away from him. He's just dropping balls, just thrown right in between the numbers. It's really bad. So if anybody's wondering, that's part of why Mike is a little bit salty, and kind of rightfully so. Bro, and plus, if you're a backup, can you really talk smack
Are you even
Like-
the backup? Like what position did they had? Let me tell you something about fucking Bayless Jones, who got his own HBO Max Hard Knocks episode so bad at wide receiver that they had to make him permanently special teams. So bad at special teams and kicking punt returning that they had to make him a fucking running back. So bad that they just cut him in the middle of that same season because he was just so fucking ass. And for him to fucking sit up here and act like, oh, well, all the Bears fans are salty. No, bro, we wished you the best. You were fucking terrible. Shout out to you, though. Probably wouldn't have got Caleb Williams without you. Probably wouldn't be where we are today and get the draft capital that we had without you selling games. I mean, we talk about Pete Rose. We talk about all these college basketball players that are gambling in their games. Someone investigate Bayless Jones because he was fucking selling mid-game, and you crown him. He's a champion, sure. Like no matter who, I don't care if you're the backup kicker or whoever. If you're on the team, you're on the team. Congratulations, but keep my fan base out your damn mouth. We weren't worried about it. He's like, oh, Bears fans are salty, bro. We didn't even know you were there. 32 fucking yards in 2025. Granted, it's more than the Patriots had all fucking game, but like, what are we talking about? That's all I had to say.
You want to know what's really funny? He had 32 yards. You know what number he wears for Seattle Seahawks right now?
What number does he wear?
32.
Congratulations, you hit the mark. Fuck. Sorry.
You're all good, buddy. You're all good.
Fuck that guy, man. And Tennessee volunteer, by the way. I should be rocking with him.
Well, hold on. He was a Trojan. He was a USC Trojan first, and then he transferred.
I bet he was a Trojan. You know why? Because
Trojan
he was
horse.
fucking me for years. No lube. Fucking Bayless Jones. Who even interviewed him and asked him that fucking question?
Who knows? It is one of those, man.
Like, hey, let's interview Bayless today. There's no one else.
What it was?
You know when you see that video at the like when they're interviewing guys, and there's always that guy next to like LeBron, and he like no one's interviewing him because everyone's interviewing LeBron. Some guy saw Bayless Jones standing there and was like, "Yeah, I'll do it. Why not?" Like, you know what I mean? Oh my.
Let's see. Why are the Colts? Why are the Colts not in the playoff?
Well,
is a couple reasons. One, I'm going to be honest. Like Ballard as GM, I don't know what his issue is with not being able to find quarterbacks ever since Luck has retired. I think the other bad part too, and Mike, you can tell me what you think about it.
Sure.
Like we've seen so many teams move off of guys that they either drafted as a high draft pick or they traded for, or whatever the case may be, i.e. Carson Wentz, i.e. Trey Lance, you know, and i.e. right now, Anthony Richardson. Like the experiment's done. And I know a lot of people are probably going to argue, no. I think he's only like 22, 23. He's been in the league like 3 years now. Like that's great. That's wonderful. And I know he still had to learn the position because he only played 13 games in college, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
That's great. One, he's had a lot of injury issues, and you can actually look up his injury history. He's had injuries from like high school all the way on, which I'm not going to sit here and say that a high contact sport like football isn't going to leave you, probably battered and bruised with a ton of injuries. But to an extent, like if you truly have that much of an issue, you have to look at ways to try to defend yourself. And especially for him, like he is a big bodied athlete. He can move and he can throw.
Yeah.
You've got to learn ways to be able to protect yourself. But for them to not rip the Band-Aid off and move on from him, either trade him, cut him, whatever, that even keep him on the keep him on the roster and let him, if you truly believe that he might be the guy, let him sit back and learn. Cool, do it. But to me, that's the biggest reason why, because to me, the Colts defense is solid. But when you don't have an offense that can move the ball, that's going to put your defense in harm's way because they have to be on the field longer to try to compensate for that. I think with one of the things we saw with realistically, one of the things we saw with the Colts, and especially in that Steelers game, when they shut down Jonathan Taylor and Daniel Jones had to improvise a little bit more.
Yep.
They started to struggle. Like, don't get me wrong, Daniel Jones had a career revival here in Indianapolis, but at the same time, I would caution them to pay him some type of big contract because he's limited.
Yeah,
Like, he's limited.
It's a conversation starter where it's like, look, at the end of the day, like, who are the last 10 quarterbacks to win a Super Bowl? Like, and I could look up a list right now and take them, but I guarantee you, if you told me which ones were the best and which ones were the worst, I'd say that Sam Darnold's probably the worst. And it's kind of like an anomaly for a free agent quarterback who is on a revival tour to take you to the promised land. And it worked out, but on the other side of the block, Geno Smith it kind of worked out with Geno too, because they got where are they at right now?
Number one overall pick.
So like that works out. Cool.
Yeah.
But more times than not, like a guy like Daniel Jones, the story is nice, but it's not going to end up working out. It's just what it is.
Yeah. But nonetheless, though, real quick, we'll talk a little bit. We'll get Mike's thought on the new coaching hires that have taken place in the NFL this offseason. So we don't have to go through all of them because I'm gonna be honest, some of them I'm like, I don't really know what to kind of expect out of this. Arizona hired Mike LaFleur, who's the former Rams offensive coordinator, who is the brother to whatever LaFleur's name is up in Matt LaFleur. Matt LaFleur.
Yeah,
we don't Green Bay.
About him. We don't utter his name.
But it's his brother.
Oh, Mike. His name's Mike.
Yeah, his name is Mike.
Yeah, because he was talking mad shit about the Bears, and I was like, man, fuck that, fuck him and Mike, fuck Mac and Mike.
You've got him in Arizona. You've got Kevin Stefanski, former Browns head coach, is now the head coach of the Falcons, with Matt Ryan serving as the president of the football operations there in Atlanta.
Yeah, they just fired Ryan Pace too, former Bears GM. They let him go. Yeah.
Baltimore Ravens hired Jesse Minter, former Chargers defensive coordinator, also the former defensive coordinator for Michigan when they won their national title, and Baltimore's previous defensive coordinator at one point. Buffalo Bills promoted Joe Brady from offensive coordinator to head coach. Like I said, Joe Brady's been there with Josh Allen, helping run the offense, help develop him. Cleveland Browns got the scraps of Todd Monken, the former Ravens offensive coordinator. That's awful. The Giants hired John Harbaugh, former Ravens head coach. The Raiders hired Clint Kubiak, the former Seattle offensive coordinator. Pittsburgh hired Mike McCarthy. That's hilarious. Tennessee hired Robert Saleh. I don't know why this man just hates being a head coach, apparently. And Miami hired Jeff Hafley, the former Packers defensive coordinator there in Miami. So, Mike, to you, are there any of these coaching jobs and any of these coaching hires that you feel stick out either positively or negatively the most?
Well, I do want to say shout out to the Bills, because I think for the Bills and in the situation that they needed to learn, in my opinion, and I'll die on this hill, was that you should have let McDermott go the second Dable wanted to become a head coach. And I think giving him that opportunity in Joe Brady is really special, because you understood that. I mean, look, McDermott, sure, a lot of people think he's a culture guy. A lot of people think it's the defense that gets going, and he's really just one of those guys, like a glue guy. You know what I mean? Yeah. He makes everybody come together. I didn't see it that way. I felt like Josh Allen was making this guy look a lot better than he was for a very long time. And I would even argue that he cost Josh Allen a lot of games as well. So where I originally thought, hey, man, maybe Dable should be the head coach. You know what I mean? It's for them to be able to go out there and say, this go around, we're going to rock out with the guy who's actually out there. And I made an argument earlier in 2024 and said that I think the Detroit Lions should throw an absolute curveball, let Dan Campbell go or demote him, and give the keys to Ben Johnson, because you don't let that guy leave. And a year later, all I gotta say is we're division champs. I can't say anything else because they beat us twice. But other than
King of the North,
man.
But that is kind of the funny thing, is Dan Campbell can be like, well, Benny, you're 0-2 against me, buddy, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. It's like, we weren't really great this year, but we beat the Bears twice. Which is all we care about.
But you know what I love about that? That's such a loser mentality. And how do I know that? Is because when the Bears won their 5th game in a row and their first game in over 11 games, because they lost 10 in a row in 2024, we beat the Packers the last game of the year. And that's all I said all offseason long. And that is a loser mentality. And it took this season for me to realize that I was acting so lame just bringing that up. But hey, it's still whatever, you know?
Right. I don't disagree. I think Joe Brady being promoted from Buffalo, it does a couple things. One, it keeps the team familiar with somebody that has already been there in the locker room for the last couple of seasons. There's a little bit more consistency. Guys don't have to be as worried about major changes happening because, okay, we've got a guy that knows the system. He's been here through the old regime. We know him. We can trust him. To me, that was kind of a safer transitional type of move when it came to promoting him. And Colts should have a better coach. I don't disagree, but here's the question: who would you hire as far as the Colts go with the head coach? Because I'm gonna be honest, I'm not saying that Indianapolis is not an attractive or interesting job as a head coach.
Yeah.
But you have the biggest issue that honestly is what kind of plagues Pittsburgh right now. That plagues it plays Pittsburgh. It kind of plagues Miami a little bit. And honestly, it kind of plagues Atlanta. You have really solid pieces to work with and to go off of.
Mm-hmm.
But who's your quarterback? Now, I know for Miami, they're going to say Tua. Is Tua really your guy just because of the amount of concussions that hits the dude takes? Like,
and then no disrespect, but like at least with Tua, you know, like he's there, and and you have the draft capital to potentially move off of him. They have the 11th overall pick. I'm looking at it right now. Indianapolis has the 16th overall pick, but it's going to the Jets because they decided to trade all those picks for Sauce
Gardner. Yeah.
What's up, Vinny? But it's definitely it's interesting, man. And I think Indy's one of those teams that like I hate it for a guy like Michael Pittman Jr., who I think you and I have been really high on for the last several years, and I really want I want good for Michael Pittman Jr. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know about high. I'll say this about Michael Pittman Jr. I think he is a solid number 2.
Sure.
He's had multiple years to prove he's the number 1 guy, and still truly like invalid too grippy. You can tell me if I'm wrong or not, and your thoughts on it. I still feel like the Colts don't have a true number 1. Now, I think the Colts and kind of the Packers both have this unique situation of they have a lot of really good receivers that can make up for that. It's not like this, step off drop of, we have a bunch of like number 2, number 3 guys having to fill in. No. They have solid number 2s that are there. But I don't feel that Michael Pittman Jr. is a true number 1 guy personally.
My pushback is this though. When did Michael Pittman get into the league? 2020, something like that?
2020 or 2021, one of the two.
So you're looking at it 2020. I mean, let's just look at the list from 2020s. I mean, 2023, 2024, Anthony Richardson, Gardner Minshew, Nick Foles, Sam Ellinger, Matt Ryan, Carson Wentz, Phillip Rivers again. It's just and then Daniel Jones. It's a situation for me where if Justin Jefferson is publicly saying like, I'm him, but my quarterback is ass, then I think it's fair to argue, like, I mean, we're in a point to where wide receivers do need quarterbacks in 2026. Like, back in the day, it was a little, not to say that, Kyle Orton could sling that thing. I'm not saying
he could.
All I'm saying is just the cover 2 defenses. It was all a little different. But like, my point is, like, you put Pittman on the Chiefs or the Bills today, and he finishes what? In 2026, like wide receiver wise, where would you put him?
I'd say probably top 10 more than likely.
That's kind of like, and Tone, I'm not disagreeing with you because I think me and you, like we're in sync about how we feel about most players, except Gardner Minshew. Tony will not admit that he is going to somehow, some way end up winning 3 straight Super Bowl champions within the next 5 years, but it's possible.
Hey, I've never argued Minshew mania, man. The mustache, the mullet, like it's got the 3 M's, brother.
They're benching Patrick, and he's never playing another snap in Kansas City. I'm telling you what. But my point is, like, I think Pittman, like, if you look at his numbers, like, I kind of want to look up his numbers because me and Tony are just, I love our conversation today.
So here's my only pushback to that. I'm gonna give you 2 names, and you tell me what you think they are as far as prime wide receivers go.
Sure, sure.
Okay. First one, D-Hop when he was with the Texans.
Prime.
Like, and who was their quarterbacks throughout his entire time when he's down there in Houston balling out?
I mean, Brian Hoyer.
I think Fitzmagic was at one point, like
Fitzmagic.
probably.
Fitzmagic, Hoyer. I hear what you're saying. Palmer? No, Palmer was in
no.
Arizona.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other one, because it's a little bit more recently, because this guy got his quarterback last year, although this season didn't go as well. Scary Terry.
Sure.
Like
DJ Moore's another one that
DJ Moore,
really,
like
yeah, but also like again, like Jamar Chase was really dookie without Joe Burrow.
He was absolutely. Now
Jefferson was dookie. I'm saying.
That's true. And I'm not saying they can't have bad years, but what I'm saying though is when I look at D-Hop and I look at Scary Terry, consistently bad years and still balled out.
And just talent wise too. Like
yes,
Michael Pittman Jr. is a wide receiver 1, comma, on the Indianapolis Colts. You know what I mean? Like he's not a wide receiver 1 in the NFL, and that's okay. And let me see the tap, man. Let me see. Flex that thing real quick. Let me see that cannon, boy.
Oh no, I can't show the gun show too much.
Chill.
Gotta be concealed.
Kid show. No, but no, I agree with you, man. I definitely think so. But I also think like the argument you can throw is like, if I'm Michael Pittman Jr., I'd be like, you never gave me a quarterback, and I've been here for 6 seasons. You know what I mean? And like you look at his numbers. You look at from rookie year on, he had 40 receptions with 503 receiving yards, 1 touchdown his rookie year. But then it blew up: 88 receptions, 1,000 yards, 99 receptions, 900 yards, 109 receptions, 1,100 yards, 69 receptions, 800 yards, 80 receptions, 784 yards. And he had, would you believe me if I told you he had a career high in touchdowns in 2025 with 7 touchdowns? And like, for it to be year 6 and that's your career high, it could speak volumes about you, or it could speak volumes about your surroundings.
I say I'm not going to sit here and say it's not both, because you are right. I think when you have a good quarterback, it absolutely makes all the difference, because when you're that guy, like you said, you saw it with Jamar Chase without Joe Burrow, not the same Jamar Chase. You look at Jay Jettis with JJ McCarthy, with Carson Wentz, and look at the difference with Carson Wentz as compared to JJ McCarthy in that offense, and how well the Vikings were clicking and whatnot with him. I do think a good quarterback absolutely makes a difference. But I would also be willing to argue too that to an extent, if you are that guy as the wide receiver, you can still have even flares and chances to prove it. Again, I'm not saying you got to ball out with like 2,000 yards as some bum off the street as you're throwing quarterback, by no means. But you got to show me that, like you said, if your career high is 7 touchdowns, which is respectable, if you're in like I would say probably 3rd or 4th year, not your 6th year, man. Like you're past your rookie contract, you're into your first true real deal contract, and that's your career high. Again, not your fault because you haven't had the best quarterbacks thrown to you, but we've seen other guys absolutely ball out with lesser talent too. Like,
sure, but also again, I just don't want to be the big Michael Pittman guy. I'm not, but like, I think when you have ass quarterbacks and you have a guy like Jonathan Taylor, it also like the offense
it's hard.
Like, we're not trusting this guy to throw this fucker, dude.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Like we're running it with JT. Like that's it.
Yeah, absolutely. So don't get me wrong. I do think it's both. Like I'm not trying to really take away anything from the dude.
Oh,
like,
I love this conversation though. Like this, and you know me, I could give a fuck about Michael Pittman Jr.
Right, like it doesn't affect you at all. You're just like,
nah,
brother. I'm just playing down from an outside perspective.
I'm just saying, like free Mike, man.
Free MPJ.
I think we should do a show about that and like have that as a conversation one day. Are you like over the nicknames? Like I remember when like we were kids and someone brought this up on a podcast talking about like basketball players, and he was like, man, nicknames used to mean something to me, man, like Megatron and Prime Time and Devin Anytime Hester. He's like, now everyone just throws their initials and a number next to it. And he was like, I'm fucking over it. And I was like, low key, bro, like Devin Anytime Hester, Prime Time, Megatron, like stuff like that. I mean, it's just like I feel like we don't get that nowadays. Jetta's is probably the closest.
Yeah, Jetta, Danny Dimes, maybe.
Yeah, but like, you know what I mean? Like smoke. That's like Smoking Jay territory, bro. Like no one gives a shit.
Although, real quick, because I do want to point it out before we end the show, there is a nickname that somebody gave to Sam Darnold that I feel like honestly he should rock with because he's in the Emerald City. Sam Ghostbuster Darnold, like, because he got past the ghosts, like he beat the ghosts, he won the Super Bowl, like that. I'd rock with that name if I was Sam. Feel like you call me Ghostbuster.
Yeah,
like,
hell yeah.
Who's this ginger? Who's this ginger white dude? What Ghostbuster? Absolutely, absolutely. But that's just me. But Mike, buddy, I appreciate you coming on. Appreciate you talking ball with me. Fun as always. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Please like, share, subscribe. Check out Military Broadcast Radio for all the great veteran podcast hosts and whatnot. Check out Mike at the Shy Kid. He's got all sorts of content. Chicago Cubs, da Bears, da Bulls, all of it. And then again, big shout out to Gunfighter Beer Company for also being a sponsor as well. Check them out if you want great beard care products, tattoo products, and stuff for the missus or stuff for you if you want to smell pretty too.
They got everything.
They got everything. You're going to smell great. You're going to look good when you do it. Appreciate everybody tuning in. We will see y'all later.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode